But speaking of Ben Carson, because I don't think we're going to have him around too much longer.
Don't say that.
I know that's very sad.
That's
for
very
Mike.
upsetting for certain people in the industry. It's not just Michael, it's Jay Farrow. There's a lot of people that have enjoyed impersonating me, so I'll be around for a while. God has a plan.
Do we know the name of the Constitution, the book that Ben Carson wrote about the Constitution? Oh, God. Didn't he write a book about the Constitution? Can we find that out? We find out what the Constitution, the book that Ben Carson wrote. Apparently, he was on C-SPAN. And he was talking about his favorite founding father. And the reason he says Thomas Jefferson.
Is it a more perfect union?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a more perfect union?
A more perfect union, what we can do to reclaim our constitutional liberties.
Well, here's one thing that you can do to reclaim your constitutional liberties. Maybe it's not necessary, and maybe that's what the message is, that the Ben Carson message is here. But here he is telling us why Thomas Jefferson is his favorite founding father.
And from the book, you talk a lot about our founding fathers. Do you have one that impressed you the most?
Boy, I'm impressed by a lot of them, but I'm particularly impressed with Thomas Jefferson, who seemed to have very deep insight into the way that people would react, and tried to craft our Constitution in a way that it would control people's natural tendencies and control the natural growth of the government. But he said that a time would come when the people would become, less vigilant. And as a result of that, the government would grow, would infiltrate, and would begin to dominate. But just before we turned to some other form of government, he said the people would awaken and recognize what was going on and rise up and retake control. I'm very hopeful that that's what's about to happen.
Now, well, here's the thing. Now Jefferson certainly wrote letters and commentary that probably that served, sort of the basis of, some of the ideas that were floating around about the Constitution. And he, I think, probably was involved maybe in like the convention, maybe in some way. But as far as I know, in terms of crafting, he crafted the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, that's right. He was in France, I think, at the time, if memory serves. But
I was actually
okay.
I was in I was
maybe you've never heard, Matt, of email. So okay, the fact that he was in France is not dispositive of the fact that he didn't craft the Constitution.
I could clarify it if the media would be fair in any way, shape, or form. I was in Denmark at the time, traveling with my time machine that we've discussed earlier. Ben and Thomas Jefferson, who was a good friend of mine, emailed me and he said, I need to get away from Sally Hemings because she's giving me a hard time and we need to duck out and work on crafting the Constitution together. And that's what happened. But fundamentally, it all goes back to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.